Hey folks, today I'm going to tell you how Donald Trump has finally decided to take on Gavin Newsom and Soros-inspired policies. I'll also share why the one big beautiful bill is going to be dead before it ever reaches the Senate floor. However, before I talk about any of that, I want to explain how 2025 is turning out to be the worst year in decades as far as natural disasters are concerned. I'm sure you guys know that 1 million acres have already been burned down across the USA in 2025, resulting in dozens of deaths and hundreds of billions of dollars in damages.
Flying right over that thing.
Tonight, a state of emergency as wildfires rage across parts of South Carolina.
Smoke could be seen from miles away in parts of South Carolina this weekend, as more than 175 fires were burning, according to the state fire marshal. This included a fire about 5 miles north of Myrtle Beach that led to evacuations.
And I've already told you that, according to most predictions, we're going to see even more devastating fires that are going to burn down more than 9 million acres, which is around 30% more than the historical average. And if we look at tornadoes, things are even weirder. The horrifying scenes we saw a couple of weeks ago in Missouri and Kentucky have only continued as more and more tornadoes pop up across the U.S.
It's right there! Tornado on the ground! Tornado on the ground, it's right there, you see it? It's right there!
This is how big the hail is, close to about 4 inches across. This can come down in severe thunderstorms.
Hey, I think we have a tornado, man.
Look at that.
Oh, I see like the skinny. You see that?
See it?
You see in the middle?
Oh, look, over here to the right, Clint.
Now, unfortunately, more than 60 people have already been killed in these so-called severe weather events. And if you're wondering why these tornadoes are becoming an everyday event, you have a fair question. Even though the media is happy to just report the devastation, I want to show you the scary stats. This year has been so bad that in March alone, we had 299 reported tornadoes. And that's insane because in the month of March, on average, we've only seen about 80 or so tornadoes in the last 30 years. Clearly, this year is especially violent, and from the looks of it, things are only gonna get worse. But that's not even the full story. We all know what kind of death and destruction those two hurricanes left behind in the heart of America last year. Well, according to NOAA, we have a 60% chance of seeing more than average storm activity, which simply means more cyclones and, unfortunately, more hurricanes. However, I want to remind you guys that simply trusting NOAA is crazy because they were doing lots of shady things during Hurricane Helene.
And just hours ago, we also learned the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season will likely be a rough one. Forecasters expect up to 19 named storms, including 6 to 10 hurricanes, with at least 3 of those Cat 3 or higher.
Of course, Donald Trump has already gutted the experimental part of this agency by limiting their budget, but that only makes this warning more ominous. Now, since we are talking about budget cuts, do you know that the big, beautiful budget reconciliation bill is already dead as far as the Senate is concerned? Now, I've already shown you what Senator Ron Johnson has said about the bill.
Can you see yourself voting for this big, beautiful bill at all?
Not in the current structure, no.
Well, Senator Rand Paul expressed similar opinions in another interview.
I think the cuts currently in the bill are wimpy and anemic, but I still would support the bill, even with wimpy and anemic cuts, if they weren't going to explode the debt. The problem is we bring in about $5 trillion in revenue. The $5 trillion is consumed by Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and other welfare programs. So the people say, well, we're taking this off the table and we're not going to touch any of those programs. Well, they're just not frankly serious.
However, I think the final nail in the coffin was this declaration from Senator Rick Scott.
Oh, absolutely. I'd vote no. This bill doesn't have
if they brought it to the floor like right now, there's not a chance it'll get the 51 votes it needs.
He also explained why he's not supporting this bill.
Let's take Medicaid as an example. Should we be spending more money for able-bodied adults that don't want to work, or poor kids, which is the purpose of the original Medicaid program? Let's get it back to its purpose. Take care of the chronically ill, take care of the disabled, take care of the poor kids that can't afford health care. That's what we should be doing.
And that's something we're hearing from many GOP senators. They want even bigger cuts to federal programs. They also want DOGE cuts to become part of this bill so they can be codified.
You know, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it.
Luckily, he's receiving support from all over the place, including the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who said this in a recent press briefing.
$1 trillion deficit is a tax on you. It works its way through the economy. There's no free lunch, and that's what ends up happening. And it's a little frustrating. You know, Elon Musk went into this DOGE effort. He was getting lampooned. I mean, like, they're firebombing his Tesla dealerships. Media smearing him relentlessly. His businesses suffered, all this stuff, because he basically said, look, we can't keep doing this, and we need to moderate and reduce the amount of money that the federal government is spending. And yet, we have a Republican Congress, and to this day, we're in the end of May, past Memorial Day, and not 1 cent in DOGE cuts have been implemented by the Congress.
Folks, I think Ron DeSantis is serious about running for the Oval Office because he's giving his 2 cents on every single national issue, and often his takes aren't bad at all.
So the bill I'm going to sign today is legislation that is going to allow Florida to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in our state. And we have the ability to do that under the federal Constitution. There are only 2 states that have done it thus far. They're smaller states. We are the first large state to step up and to get this done. And this is right out of the Constitution of the United States. So this legislation will authorize money services business like check cashers or PayPal to transmit and accept payment in gold and silver. That means these precious metals can start functioning like real currency again, not just investment vehicles for the wealthy.
Now, I want to show you what the president had to say about Elon's criticism of this bill.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill, saying he was disappointed it didn't cut enough, essentially, that it undercut the DOGE efforts. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the reaction's a lot of things. Number one, we have to get a lot of votes. We can't be cutting, we need to get a lot of support. And we have a lot of support. We had to get it through the House. The House was, we have no Democrats. You know, if it's up to the Democrats, they'll take the 65% increase. You know, if that doesn't get approved, this country is going to have a 65% increase in taxes and lots of other problems, big problems, almost bigger than that. But we'll have a 65% increase as opposed to the largest tax cut in the history of our country. We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill.
President Trump isn't wrong here. It's going to be hard to get this bill through the Senate without any Democratic support. So there's a big chance GOP House members will find a way to get the DOGE cuts in, but I don't think the president will say yes to more Medicaid cuts. Now, speaking of Democrats, let me share the real reason why they hate this bill. I've already shown you guys how Chuck Schumer appointed hundreds of judges after the election to oppose Trump as much as possible.
Now, all of them were confirmed because they were among the very most qualified individuals for the job. I want to thank President Biden for sending us such an impressive group, Vice President Harris, who helped us confirm nominees, and of course, my friend and colleague, Chairman Dick Durbin.
An extraordinary group of people, starting with Dan Swanson, Phil Brest, who served both in the White House and the committee. Sarah Bauer, Rochelle Yolandi, Charnel Darnbach, Stephanie Angel, Jess Clay, Malik Simmons on the whips part on the floor, and of course, Joe Zogby, the staff director.
Well, this budget bill includes a provision that basically takes away a lot of the powers of these rogue judges.
It's a specific provision that would restrict a federal court's power to enforce injunctions with contempt unless there is a bond attached to it.
Now, according to this provision, a judge can only hold the federal government in contempt for disregarding an injunction if a certain amount of bond money has been paid by the other party. Of course, the Democratic senators want this provision gone, and I think deep state puppets like Chuck Schumer might even switch sides if this change is made. After all, he has a history of making bold claims before announcing a surrender. And while the lawmakers might still find a way to pass the bill, the differences between President Trump and Gavin Newsom are likely going to the court. I'm sure some of you know that the federal government is already fighting the state of Maine in court because they want to pause federal aid until the state changes its policies regarding transgender athletes.
2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way, that's good, but I understand Maine. Is the Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
Well, now Donald Trump has issued a similar warning to California over the same issue, where a trans athlete has been allowed to take part in a female competition.
Back, President Trump launching new attacks against California and its governor this morning, threatening to revoke all federal funding over a transgender athlete making it to track and field state finals.
The president blasting Governor Newsom on his social media site, saying in part, under his leadership, he continues to illegally allow men to play in women's sports.
Now, if Gavin Newsom and his government decide to fight, it will be disastrous for California. You see, the state is currently asking for a whopping $40 billion of federal money to rebuild Los Angeles.
California asking for $40 billion in federal aid for wildfire recovery now. The recent fires around LA burned more than 16,000 structures and killed at least 29 people.
The governor writing, quote, "Make no mistake, Los Angeles will use this money wisely."
Now, if I'm being honest, I don't think they were going to get this much money anyway, since their track record is horrendous.
Medi-Cal, our version of Medicaid, is facing an unprecedented threat. Its very solvency, its sustainability, its ability to provide coverage for Californians is being threatened by a completely reckless policy enacted by Governor Gavin Newsom that does not exist in any of the other 49 states in our country. And because of this reckless policy, Newsom has just had to ask the legislature for a bailout of Medicaid, $2.8 billion, which the legislature provided. Now, of course, what I'm referring to is the policy of providing free, full-scope, comprehensive Medi-Cal coverage to all illegal immigrants in the state.
Mayor Karen Bass received $2 billion for victims from the state government and used half of it to balance their budget. Meanwhile, she's posting stuff like this. Homes are under construction throughout the Palisades, ahead of expectations. We've taken action to cut red tape and expedite the permitting process to get families home. Now, she's lying again because according to some sources, no more than 10 permits have been issued for Pacific Palisades even after 6 months. So I don't know how we can trust her with tens of billions of dollars, and now it looks like they might be getting nothing. But something tells me that Gavin Newsom might flinch and agree with Trump because on the issue of transgender athletes, he has given some surprising statements.
But like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
Of course, he's doing this to win over undecided voters for his upcoming presidential bid, but I don't think any conservative voter is going to fall for his slimy tricks. Studies have been done to show that the flavonols in cocoa stimulate stem cells to come out of your bone marrow, like bees coming out of a beehive, in your bloodstream. And they go out and they find whatever needs to be repaired. If it's in your heart, they'll fix it. If it's in your liver, they'll fix it. If it's in your skin, they'll fix it. But don't take it from me. Let me show you a clip from Harvard scientist Dr. William Lee that actually backs this up.
Well, clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that in men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month. Yeah. And they doubled the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved measurably. And then what's even more important and impressive is that there was a study called the Cosmos study that was completed recently that showed that eating high flavanol cocoa decreases the risk of cardiovascular death.
Yeah.
Right, over a period
like a statin.
Like a statin, right. Exactly. Except made with by eating the same thing that you use to make chocolate.
That's incredible.
So we're not telling people to go out to have chocolate, which is a confection, which has got a lot of sugar and all kinds of other stuff in it. Yeah. But it's the stuff underneath it, the core of it.
That's right. Dark chocolate. But here's the thing. Flavanols are the good stuff found in cocoa beans, but they're usually destroyed during the chocolate making process. That's where Black Forest supplements come in. This right here is not just any old cocoa. It's a stem cell power-up. If you are experiencing significant aging, slow recovery, weak immunity, blame your lazy stem cells. But guess what? Cocoa flavanols activate them like a fountain of youth in a scoop. By naturally producing more stem cells, your body is going to repair tissues, help with faster healing, glowing skin, and immune support. Studies show that cocoa flavanols increase stem cell circulation by over 100%. And best of all, it's only 20 calories with no sugar. I mix it with my coffee or my protein shake, and it tastes amazing. Meanwhile, Hollywood elites are dropping insane amounts on placenta stem cell injections. At Dr. Nathan Newman's Beverly Hills clinic, where many celebrities go, a stem cell facial or facelift can run from $15,000 to $40,000. Instead, this high flavanol cocoa powder can naturally support your body's own stem cell production. I've been using this myself, and the results are real. There's no more brain fog, energy levels are up, and I feel sharper than ever. Let's be honest, men need to stay strong, clear-headed, and at their best. No one is coming to save us. That means training hard, building endurance, fueling our bodies right, and making smart supplement choices. So here's what I worked out for you. I've asked my friends at Black Forest to give you guys a special discount. They're doing a 40% off store-wide discount for the next 48 hours, including cocoa, so I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and get it ASAP, because this offer only lasts 48 hours and they are usually out of stock on this. Take advantage of this while you still can. Check the link in the description and pinned comment and stock up while you still can. So tell me, why do you think we're seeing abnormally high numbers of storms and fires this year? Also, what are your thoughts on this GOP rebellion in the Senate? Share what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.